Page 63, Jeffrey. And Jeffrey is the slacker. Peter called them retards, and Alexia laughed like it was funny or something. I should have just punched them then. It's a good thing they weren't in my group. I went downstairs with Jessica and Anna. They seemed a little scared, but I didn't say anything. We walked into Miss Kelsey's class and met the kids. They were great. Joey was full of love. All he wanted to do was play and hug me. He didn't get upset about anything, not even winning or losing when we played games. James was reading this big book when we first walked in. I could tell he was real smart. I figured he was autistic right away because he didn't look at us or say a word. And little Emily was so cute. She needed lots of help, but who wouldn't want to help her? They reminded me of Michael. Just like the collaborative kids, Michael had the power to make you feel really good whenever you were with him. Love poured from him. I've never told anyone about Michael, and I wasn't gonna. But Jessica knew something was up. She's pretty smart. She notices things. After we visited the collaborative classroom a few times, she came up to me at recess one day. I was sitting at the edge of the field, out where no one else ever comes. I was looking through my football cards, putting them in piles by positions. "You have a secret, don't you, Jeffrey?" she said to me as she sat down. "What are you talking about?" I said. "Who do you know with special needs?" I kept sorting my cards. I tried to ignore her. I wasn't going to tell her anything. Then she moved closer. "I've got a secret no one knows about too. No one. Not anyone at this school," she said. "So, why would you tell me?" I asked, looking at her this time. "I was reading this book, Ida B., and in it the girl finally talks a little about her secret, and it helps her out." "You're always reading," I said. "The characters help me understand and think about things," she said. "They help me know what to do." QBs. Where's that pile? "Is that why you handle Alexia differently than all the other girls?" I said. "I guess so." "Well, you can tell me your secret. I'm listening." "Can I look at some of your cards while I talk?" She reached for my running backs pile. "No!" I pushed her hand away. "Nobody ever touches my cards." She was quiet. I might have scared her a little. "Sorry," I said. "I'll just hold my book then." She was quiet for a minute. I waited, and she took a big breath. "My dad didn't come to Connecticut with us," she said. "He directs plays and found a girlfriend at his work, a beautiful actress from one of his productions. My mom decided we needed to get away from California and my father. So here we are." I kept sorting my cards, but I was listening, and Jessica knew I was. After a few seconds, she kept talking. She had more to get off her chest. "I didn't want to come, but my mom told me I had no choice. Boy, was I ever angry with her, angry like I'd never been before. I figured my dad was dumping her, not me, so why did I have to leave too? Silly, right? I could never live without my mom." I stayed busy with my cards because I didn't know what else to do. I didn't want to ruin it for Jessica. She had a lot to tell, so I stayed quiet. What I didn't know at the time was that my dad wasn't only dumping my mom, he was dumping me too. The last time I talked to him was back in the beginning of school. He phoned to talk to me, but he hasn't called since. Well, I knew what that was like to have a parent that didn't talk to you. I had two, but I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. Then recess ended. The next chapter is Anna. Anna is the shy one. I was pretty scared when Mr. Terupt first told us about going to the collaborative classroom. I didn't know those kids, only that they were gross and messy, but I didn't complain. I was happy when I found out Jessica was in my group. She and I have been eating lunch together. She is always reading and she's smart, but she doesn't act like a know-it-all. She tells me about her books if I ask, without giving away too much of the story. I wasn't expecting or looking for a special friend, but Jessica showed up this year all the way from California, and I like her a lot. I'd like to ask her over to my house, but no one has ever come over before. I'm not sure what Mom would think. I'll have to think about that some more. Jeffrey was in our group too. All I know about him is that he always seems mad at everyone. That wasn't really how it turned out though. Jeffrey was nice with the kids, really nice, and I didn't feel scared because Miss Kelsey and Jessica were here with me. Miss Kelsey knew I was nervous, and she helped me get used to everything a little at a time. I noticed she didn't wear a wedding ring. Mr. Terupt had a lot of options. Little Emily was so cute. I didn't want to touch her hands because she always had them in her mouth and had slobbery spit all over them. But Miss Kelsey gave us this handkerchief to wipe her up with every once in a while, and then it was okay to touch her. I held her hand on the way to do jobs and on the way back. She smiled at me, and then I felt like I was going to cry. I hadn't expected that. One day, after everybody had been to visit the collaborative classroom at least once, Mr. Terupt decided we needed to discuss our group experiences. Mr. Terupt, I said before we got into a serious discussion, did you know that Miss Kelsey doesn't wear a wedding ring? Is that so? Yes, and neither does Miss Newberry from across the hall. I did know that, but thanks for those observations, Anna. Then Peter started in. Ooh, Terupt and Newberry sitting in a tree. Kissing. Okay, Peter, ha ha. Mr. Terupt held up his hands. Enough of the matchmaking, though I appreciate your looking out for me, Anna. Now, how about you sharing your experiences? I wanted to tell Mr. Terupt that my mom didn't have a wedding ring, but he had moved on. Jessica was the first to speak up. Mr. Terupt, why is James in that room? He seems really smart. Yeah, Peter said. He knew how many forks and stuff were on the table without even counting them. You should do some math with him, Luke. Not exactly a retard then, huh, Peter? Mr. Terupt said. No. Peter's voice lowered, and so did his head. He's autistic, Jeffrey said. No one said anything, probably because we were so shocked that Jeffrey had spoken at all, and because we didn't know what he meant. James has some things that he's really into, and he knows everything about them, Jeffrey went on. A lot of autistic people have a special talent. James is great with numbers, but he has his problems too. Hey, we should have had him tell us how many blades of grass were in the soccer field, Peter said. Yeah, and then I never would have gotten hit on the tushy, Lexi told him. Peter grinned, but that was the best part. All right, you two, that's enough, Mr. Terupt said. How do you know all that stuff, Jeffrey? I said. Even before I knew I was asking the question, I felt instantly bad. Jeffrey wasn't looking for extra attention. Jeffrey didn't answer. He was quiet again. The next chapter is Danielle, the pushover. Lexi was in my group going to the collaborative kids. Part of me was happy about that. Part of me wasn't. Things were a little confusing. Every time we went to the collaborative classroom and every time we came back, Lexi would talk bad about Jessica, even Anna sometimes. Don't you think Anna belongs in this room? She's so stupid, Lexi said one day. Even if I wasn't supposed to be friends with Anna, I knew she wasn't stupid. I knew because she was my plant partner and she helped me a lot during that unit. Plus, Anna was the only girl not invited in Lexi's schemes, which made her brave too. Jessica should just stay down here. She doesn't have any normal friends, Lexi said. The weirdest thing of all was that Lexi was really nice to the boys and girls in the collaborative classroom. Joey loved her. Okay, Joey loved everybody, but he always smiled and hugged Lexi. And she was really patient with Emily too. Seeing Lexi like that helped me feel more comfortable in that room. And I had a good time with the kids, especially James. Jeffrey told us that James had certain things he was really into, and one of them was farms. His brain was crammed with information about tractors and machines and cows and milking. So I brought in a bunch of pictures from home, and James went nuts. He spouted off facts nonstop as he looked at each picture. Udders. These are the cow's udders. Clean her off and use teat dip. Next picture. Hay. Find it in bales and rolls. It's hard work to hay. Throw the bale off the wagon and put it in the elevator. Stack the bales in the hayloft. Next picture. John Deere tractor. Classic green and yellow. Lots of horsepower. James talked more to himself than anyone else, but that was okay. His mind was racing. When our time was up, I tried to take the pictures and he started screaming. Really screaming. Not words, just noise. Really loud noise. It scared me. I let go of the pictures and Mrs. Warner came right over. I got out of the way. He can keep them, I said. That's very nice of you, sweetie, Mrs. Warner said. James, can you say thank you to our friend? Arr! James yelled and struggled to free his body from Mrs. Warner. James has a hard time knowing when time is up and switching to another activity, she said. I felt bad for James, watching him have this meltdown. It's okay, I said. You can keep the picture, James. Bye. More yelling and crying and screaming. I hoped he would calm down soon, but I had to leave. I wanted to go. I didn't like seeing that. The whole situation upset me, and I think that was what gave me the courage to say something. We had just gone out into the hall when Lexi started right in. Like, what a weirdo. We better fix him up with Jessica. She's the weirdest one in our class. Just stop it! I exploded. Why do you always have to be so mean? You're the nice one in the room. Why do you have to be mean now? Fighting back tears, I turned and ran down the hall. He likes cows, Lexi yelled after me. Maybe he should date a cow like you then. Hot tears streamed down my cheeks. I ran upstairs and into our bathroom. Jessica was there. Are you okay? She asked as I came through the door crying. Here was my true friend. I knew it now. I'm sorry I've been so mean to you, Jessica. I won't do it again. She walked over to me and we hugged. I felt better. Dear God, it's Danielle. I know now that Jessica is my real friend. I pray that you can help Alexia not be so mean. And I pray for James. He was awful upset today. Please help him feel better and learn to handle when time is up. Thanks. Amen.